Daniel's hands were still shaking when he turned the key. 3 double shifts in 4 days. His body moved on autopilot now, muscle memory carrying him through the door of the tiny rental house that always smelled faintly of lavender detergent and Emma's strawberry shampoo. But tonight, something was different. The living room glowed under the cheap overhead light, and there, on her hands and knees in the center of his scuffed linoleum floor, was Victoria Sterling, his CEO, the woman whose signature was on every paycheck, the woman whose face appeared on Forbes covers, the woman who lived in a penthouse that cost more than Daniel would earn in 3 lifetimes. She was scrubbing his floor. Her Chanel blazer was draped over his sagging couch. Her perfectly manicured hands gripped a sponge that had seen better days. Her dark hair, usually swept into an immaculate bun, fell loose around her shoulders. Emma sat at the kitchen table, coloring, completely unbothered, as if finding a billionaire CEO doing housework was the most normal thing in the world. Victoria looked up. Their eyes met, and Daniel saw something he'd never seen in the 2 years he'd worked under her. Fear. She rose slowly, the sponge dropping to the floor with a wet slap. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "I needed to tell you, before you found out another way." The room tilted. Daniel's throat closed. Because whatever she was about to say, whatever truth had brought Victoria Sterling to her knees in his house, was going to destroy everything. Before we dive into how this impossible situation came to be, tell me in the comments where you're listening from. I love knowing how far these stories reach. And if you believe in second chances and love that breaks all the rules, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let me take you back to where it all began. 3 months earlier, when Daniel's life fell apart. 3 months earlier, Daniel Matthews learned that rock bottom has a basement. The conference room on the 18th floor had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. Daniel had always loved this view. From up here, his problems seemed small, manageable. Today, those windows felt like a cage. Can you explain this? Marcus Webb, the VP of Operations, slid a folder across the mahogany table. His voice dripped with condescension. Daniel opened it. His stomach dropped. Purchase orders. Dozens of them, all bearing his digital signature. All for equipment the company never received. Total loss, $400,000. "I didn't authorize these," Daniel said. His voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Your signature says otherwise." "Then it was forged. I've never seen these vendors. I would never." "Save it." Marcus leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "We've conducted a thorough investigation. The IP address traces back to your workstation. The timestamps match your shift hours. You got greedy, Daniel. You thought no one would notice." The room swam. Daniel gripped the edge of the table. "This is insane. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I would never risk." "Security will escort you out. You have 10 minutes to clear your desk." That's when Daniel noticed her. Victoria Sterling stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, face unreadable. She'd been silent the entire meeting. Their CEO, the woman who'd built this company from nothing. The woman whose rare smiles could make or break careers. She said nothing now. Daniel met her eyes, silently begging. "Help me. You know I wouldn't do this." Victoria's expression didn't change. She looked at him the way you'd look at a stranger. Cold, detached, empty. Then she turned and walked out. The security guards arrived 60 seconds later. The walk through the office was a parade of shame. Heads turned. Whispers followed. Daniel kept his eyes on his shoes as he shoved 3 years of his life into a cardboard box. Family photo of Emma. Coffee mug that said "World's Okayest Dad." A pack of sticky notes. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Jessica from accounting watched from her cubicle, pity written across her face. Tom from IT wouldn't make eye contact. These people had been his friends, his work family. Now they looked at him like he was a criminal. The elevator ride down felt like falling. 18 floors of free fall. When the doors opened to the lobby, Daniel walked past the reception desk where he'd signed in every morning for 3 years. Maria, the receptionist, gave him a sad smile. "I'm sorry, Daniel." He couldn't respond. If he opened his mouth, he'd break. The autumn air hit him like a slap. Daniel stood on the sidewalk, box in his arms, and watched his former co-workers stream past him into the building, going to meetings, answering emails, living their lives. His phone buzzed. Emma's school. He'd forgotten to pay this month's tuition. Again. Daniel closed his eyes and tried to remember how to breathe. The apartment felt smaller when failure lived in it. Daniel set the box on the kitchen counter and stared at the stack of bills held down by a coffee mug. Medical bills, mostly. Emma's asthma had gotten worse over the summer. The inhaler she needed cost $300 even with insurance. He'd been rationing it, telling himself next paycheck, next month, soon. There wouldn't be a next paycheck now. "Daddy!" Emma burst through the front door, her backpack nearly as big as she was. Mrs. Chen from 2B followed, giving Daniel a wave. She picked Emma up from school on Tuesdays when Daniel worked late. Worked. Past tense now. "Hi, sweetheart." Daniel swept Emma into a hug, burying his face in her hair. She smelled like playground mulch and strawberry shampoo. Normal things. Good things. "We made paper turkeys today. Look." Emma wriggled free and pulled a crumpled construction paper turkey from her backpack. Its feathers were every color of the rainbow. "It's beautiful, baby. Can we hang it on the fridge?" "Absolutely." Daniel stuck the turkey to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a sunflower. Emma beamed. For a moment, the weight lifted. This was why he got up every morning. Why he worked double shifts. Why he'd taken a job he was overqualified for just because it had health insurance. Emma coughed. A wet, rattling sound that made Daniel's chest tighten. "You okay, Em?" "Uh-huh." But she coughed again, harder this time. Daniel grabbed her inhaler from the counter. Nearly empty. He helped her take a puff, counting the seconds, rubbing her back. "Better?" She nodded, but her breathing still sounded labored. That night, after Emma fell asleep clutching her stuffed rabbit, Daniel sat at the kitchen table and did math that didn't work. Rent due in 2 weeks. Utilities overdue. Emma's medication. Groceries. Job hunting would take time. Unemployment wouldn't cover half of it. He opened his laptop and started searching. Retail positions, warehouse work, anything. His phone buzzed at 11 p.m. Unknown number. Daniel almost didn't answer. But at this point, what did he have to lose? "Hello? Daniel Matthews?" The voice was female, professional, vaguely familiar. Speaking. "This is Victoria Sterling." Daniel's heart stopped. "I'd like to meet with you tomorrow. 9 a.m. There's a coffee shop called Marlowe's on 5th Street. Do you know it?" His mouth felt dry. "Why?" "Because I have a proposition for you. One I think you'll find difficult to refuse." "Miss Sterling, I didn't steal from the company. I swear." "I know." 2 words. Quiet. Simple. They hit Daniel like a freight train. "You, no?" 9 a.m., Daniel. Don't be late." She hung up. Daniel stared at his phone for a full minute, trying to make sense of what just happened. Victoria Sterling knew he was innocent. She'd known during that meeting. She'd watched them destroy him and said nothing. And now she wanted to meet. He should tell her to go to hell. He should block her number and never look back. But Emma coughed in the next room, and Daniel knew he'd show up. Because desperate men don't have the luxury of pride. Marlowe's was the kind of coffee shop that charged $8 for a latte and had succulents on every table. Daniel arrived at 8:45, too anxious to wait at home. He ordered black coffee he couldn't afford and sat in the corner booth, watching the door. Victoria arrived exactly at 9. She looked different outside the office. Still polished. Designer jeans, cashmere sweater, leather jacket that probably cost more than Daniel's rent, but softer somehow. Human. She slid into the booth across from him without ordering anything. "Thank you for coming. You said you knew I was innocent." "I do." "Then why didn't you say something? Why did you let them—" "Because if I'd intervened, you'd be dead." Daniel blinked. "What?" Victoria folded her hands on the table. Her nails were painted a deep burgundy. "The purchase order scheme wasn't about stealing money, Daniel. It was about framing you. Someone wanted you discredited and removed from the company. If I'd defended you publicly, they would have escalated. You have a daughter. I wasn't willing to risk what that escalation might look like. Who would want to? It doesn't matter right now. What matters is that I need something from you, and you need something from me." Daniel's coffee had gone cold. He pushed it away. "I'm listening." Victoria took a breath, and for the first time, he saw cracks in her armor, uncertainty, vulnerability. "My parents are obsessed with legacy. 3 years ago, my father updated his will with a condition. I only inherit the family estate and the controlling shares of Sterling Industries if I'm married with a child by my 35th birthday. That's archaic. It's also legally binding. I turn 35 in 6 months." Daniel's head spun. You want me to? I need a husband. I need a child. I need my parents to believe it's real long enough for the inheritance to transfer. After that, we dissolve the arrangement quietly. You want to buy a family. Victoria didn't flinch. Yes. The word hung between them like smoke. I'm not for sale. Everyone's for sale, Daniel. It's just a question of price. She pulled an envelope from her purse and slid it across the table. Open it. Inside was a check. Daniel's vision blurred when he saw the number. $50,000. That's the signing bonus, Victoria said. You'll receive $10,000 monthly for 6 months. In exchange, you move into my property. I'll provide a house, nothing ostentatious, and we present as a married couple at necessary social functions. Your daughter receives full medical coverage through my private healthcare plan. When the arrangement ends, you'll receive a severance package and a glowing reference for any position you want. Daniel's hands trembled. This was insane, immoral, wrong on every possible level. Emma coughed in his memory. Why me? His voice cracked. You could have anyone. Because you're desperate enough to say yes and decent enough to honor the agreement. Because you have a daughter, which solves both my problems at once. Because I've watched you for 2 years, Daniel. You're a good father. You're honest. You're exactly what I need. You destroyed my career. I saved your life, and now I'm offering you a way out. Daniel looked at the check. $50,000. Emma's medication for a year. Rent paid. Breathing room. A chance. He thought about his daughter's paper turkey on the fridge. Her rationed inhaler. The way she tried not to cough too loud because she knew it worried him. If I do this, he said slowly, Emma comes first. Always. No exceptions. Agreed. And after 6 months, we're done. You go back to your life. I go back to mine. Completely. Daniel picked up the check. The paper felt obscenely heavy. I need 24 hours to think about it. Victoria stood. You have 12. I'll text you an address tomorrow morning. If you show up, we have a deal. If you don't, this conversation never happened. She walked out without looking back. Daniel sat alone in the coffee shop staring at a check that felt like a deal with the devil and wondered if he'd just found salvation or damnation. Emma had a bad night. Daniel sat beside her bed until 3 a.m., listening to her labored breathing, applying cold compresses when her fever spiked. She finally fell asleep around dawn, her small hand wrapped around his thumb. He watched her chest rise and fall, so fragile, so trusting. At 8:30 a.m., his phone buzzed. Victoria's text contained only an address and 4 words. The choice is yours. Daniel looked at his sleeping daughter. Then he got dressed. The house was in a quiet suburb, far from the city's chaos. Nothing extravagant. A modest 3-bedroom with a fenced yard and a porch swing. The kind of place where kids rode bikes and neighbors waved. Victoria's car was already in the driveway. Daniel parked behind her and sat for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. Last chance to turn around. He got out of the car. Victoria answered the door in jeans and a t-shirt. No makeup, hair in a ponytail. She looked young, almost vulnerable. You came. I came. She stepped aside. The house was furnished simply, clean, comfortable, a far cry from what he'd expected. The lease is in your name, Victoria said. As far as anyone knows, you live here with your daughter. I'll maintain my penthouse publicly, but stay here enough to make the arrangement believable. Daniel walked through the living room, running his hand along the back of the couch. Everything felt surreal, like he'd stepped into someone else's life. Emma's room is upstairs, second door on the left. I had it painted yellow. Kids like yellow. Something in his chest twisted. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Victoria handed him a folder. Marriage license application, medical insurance cards, bank account information, everything you'll need. Daniel opened the folder. His hands had stopped shaking. Some part of him had already made peace with this. When do we start? Now. Sign the papers, move your things in this week. We'll have a small civil ceremony Friday. My lawyer will present the documentation to my parents immediately after. They'll believe it? Just like that? They'll believe I finally bent to their will. That's all they've ever wanted. Daniel met her eyes. And what do you want, Ms. Sterling? For a moment, something flickered across her face. Something raw and honest and desperately sad. To be free, she said quietly, even if it's just pretend. Daniel signed the papers and sealed his fate. Moving day felt like playing house with someone else's script. Daniel packed their lives into garbage bags and cardboard boxes. Everything they owned fit into his beaten Honda Civic. 2 trips. That's all it took to erase their old life and start this strange new one. Emma bounced through the house like a pinball, her asthma temporarily forgotten in the excitement of a new room. "Daddy, look. There's a window seat. Can I put my stuffed animals here?" "Whatever you want, sweetheart." Victoria arrived that evening with 2 suitcases and a leather briefcase. She'd changed into slacks and a silk blouse. Armor, Daniel realized. She was preparing for battle, even here. "I'll take the master bedroom," she announced, not asking. "You'll have the guest room. We should maintain separate spaces." "Fine by me." They moved around each other like cautious animals. Victoria unpacked with military precision, everything organized, labeled, controlled. Daniel threw his clothes into drawers and called it done. Emma appeared in the doorway of Victoria's room, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Are you my new mommy?" The question landed like a grenade. Victoria froze, a cashmere sweater still in her hands. Her face went pale. For a moment, Daniel thought she might bolt. Victoria's voice caught. She cleared her throat. "I'm Victoria. You can call me Vicky if you want." "Okay." Emma studied her with the brutal honesty only children possess. "You're really pretty." Something shifted in Victoria's expression. Softened. "Thank you. You're pretty too." "I know." Emma grinned, gap-toothed and fearless. "Daddy says I look like my mommy." The air in the room changed. Daniel stepped forward. Why don't you go pick out which stuffed animals go on your window seat? I'll come help in a minute." "Okay." Emma skipped away, oblivious to the tension. Victoria set the sweater down carefully. "I'm sorry. I should have asked how to handle that conversation." "It's fine. Where is her mother?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "Not in the picture, hasn't been since Emma was 6 months old." Victoria nodded slowly. She didn't press, and Daniel was grateful. Some wounds didn't need air. "I'll order dinner," Victoria said. "Do you like Thai food?" Emma's picky. "Then pizza?" "She'll eat that." They ordered pizza. They ate in awkward silence at a dining table that felt too big. Emma filled the quiet with stories about her school friends and a boy named Marcus who ate glue. Victoria listened, really listened. She asked questions, laughed at the right moments, and Daniel watched, trying to reconcile this woman with the Ice Queen CEO who'd let him be destroyed. After dinner, Emma declared she needed help arranging her stuffed animals by size. Victoria, still in her silk blouse, got down on the floor and helped create what Emma called the army of cuteness. Daniel stood in the doorway watching his daughter order a billionaire around like a personal assistant, and Victoria Sterling obeyed every command. The first week was a minefield of awkward moments. Victoria didn't know how to work a coffee maker. Daniel found her staring at it like it was alien technology. "You just press the button," he said, reaching around her. "I usually have someone make it." "Well, that someone is you now." She glared at him, but there was no heat in it, just embarrassment. Victoria couldn't cook. She tried to make scrambled eggs and somehow set off the smoke alarm. Emma thought it was hilarious. Daniel threw open windows while Victoria stood in the kitchen, looking lost. "Here." Daniel handed her a spatula. "Low heat, keep stirring, don't walk away. I went to Harvard. Harvard didn't teach you how to feed yourself? I had a meal plan." Despite himself, Daniel smiled. "Of course you did." But Victoria was stubborn. She watched cooking videos on her phone at night. She asked Emma what she liked to eat, and took notes like she was preparing for a board meeting. She failed spectacularly at mac and cheese, overcooking the pasta into mush. Emma ate it anyway. "It's good, Vicky." Victoria looked at Daniel, silently begging for honesty. "It's terrible," he said. "I know." But she was smiling. Just a little. The nights were the hardest. Daniel lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, hyper-aware of Victoria in the next room. Sometimes he heard her talking on the phone in clipped professional tones. Sometimes he heard nothing at all, which was somehow worse. He'd agreed to 6 months of pretend, 6 months of living with a stranger, 6 months of lying to his daughter about what this was. The guilt ate at him. But then he'd hear Emma laughing in the morning, her breathing easy, her inhaler gathering dust on the bathroom counter because she hadn't needed it in days. The new insurance Victoria provided covered a better medication. Preventative, not reactive. Emma was thriving. So Daniel swallowed his guilt and played his part. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday night. Emma woke up crying at 2 a.m. Daniel heard her from his room and was halfway down the hall when he realized Victoria was already there. She sat on the edge of Emma's bed, one hand on Emma's forehead, the other holding a glass of water. "Shh, it's okay. It was just a bad dream. There was a monster," Emma sobbed, "and he took Daddy away. No monsters taking your daddy, I promise." "How do you know?" "Because I won't let them." Victoria's voice was fierce, protective, real. Emma hiccuped, rubbing her eyes. "Will you stay?" Victoria hesitated. She glanced at the doorway, at Daniel standing in shadow, then back at Emma. "Okay, I'll stay." She lay down on top of the covers, fully clothed, and Emma curled into her side like it was the most natural thing in the world. And Victoria Sterling, CEO, billionaire, woman made of ice and expensive perfume, began to sing. Daniel didn't recognize the song at first. It was soft, lilting in a language he didn't know. Italian, maybe. The melody was achingly beautiful. Emma's breathing slowed. Her grip on Victoria's shirt loosened. By the third verse, she was asleep. Victoria kept singing anyway, her hand stroking Emma's hair, her eyes closed. Daniel should have walked away, should have given them privacy, but he couldn't move. He was frozen, watching this woman transform into someone he didn't recognize. When the song ended, Victoria opened her eyes and found Daniel staring. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Victoria carefully extracted herself from Emma's grip, tucked the blanket around her, and walked past Daniel into the hallway. She stopped. "My mother used to sing that to me. It's beautiful. She died when I was 12. Victoria's voice was hollow. "My father remarried 6 months later. I spent the rest of my childhood in boarding schools." Daniel's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. Don't be. It made me strong." "Did it?" Victoria met his eyes and the mask cracked. "Just for a second. Just enough." "No," she whispered. "It made me alone." She walked to her room and closed the door. Daniel stood in the hallway for a long time, listening to the silence, and realized with cold clarity that this arrangement was going to break both of them. But the days kept coming, and something shifted. Victoria started working from home more often. She'd set up her laptop at the kitchen table, taking video calls while Emma did homework beside her. Sometimes Emma would draw pictures during Victoria's meetings, elaborate crayon masterpieces featuring princesses and dragons. Victoria kept every single one. She taped them to the wall of her room, creating a gallery of construction paper chaos. Daniel saw it one day when her door was open. Dozens of Emma's drawings, displayed like priceless art. "She's talented," Victoria said from behind him. Daniel turned. "You don't have to do that." "I want to." "Why?" Victoria looked at the drawings, something soft and broken in her expression. "Because no one ever kept mine. They developed routines." Daniel cooked breakfast. Victoria packed Emma's lunch, carefully following the list of approved foods Emma had dictated. They traded off school, drop-off, and pickup. To anyone watching, they looked like a family. Sometimes Daniel forgot they were pretending, like when Victoria came home with bags from Target, sheepish and defiant. I may have gone overboard. She'd bought Emma an entire art supply station. Paints, markers, glitter, construction paper in every color. Enough craft supplies to stock a classroom. "Vicky, this is too much. She's creative. She should have tools." Emma screamed with joy and threw her arms around Victoria's waist. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Victoria's hands hovered uncertainly before settling on Emma's shoulders. "You're welcome, sweet girl." Daniel saw her blink rapidly, fighting tears. Or the Saturday they spent at the park. Emma demanded they push her on the swings. Victoria, in designer jeans and a white blouse completely inappropriate for a playground, gamely obliged. "Higher!" Emma shrieked. "I'm pushing as high as I can." "Higher!" Daniel laughed, watching Victoria's determined expression. She pushed harder and Emma soared, her laughter echoing across the playground. A woman on the next bench smiled at them. "You have a beautiful family." Daniel opened his mouth to correct her. Victoria beat him to it. "Thank you." The lie came so easily, so naturally, and it didn't feel like a lie at all. The midpoint came without warning, dressed in a $1,000 suit and dripping with disdain. Victoria's parents arrived on a Friday evening, unannounced. Their Bentley pulled into the driveway like an invading army. Charles and Margot Sterling were exactly what Daniel expected. Old money wrapped in cruelty. Charles, silver-haired and imposing, looked at the modest house like it personally offended him. Margot, surgically perfected and glacial, examined Daniel like he was something she'd scraped off her shoe. Victoria. Charles's voice could freeze fire. Explain this. Victoria stood in the doorway, spine straight, face impassive. This is my home. This is my husband, Daniel, and this is our daughter, Emma. Emma peeked from behind Daniel's leg, sensing danger. Margot's lip curled. Your husband is a fired junior executive, and that child is… Enough! Victoria's voice cracked like a whip. You wanted me married with a child. Here we are. Now leave. We're invited to the Carmichael Charity Gala tomorrow night, Charles said, ignoring her. All of us, including your family. It wasn't a request. It was a command. Victoria's jaw tightened. Fine. Good. Try not to embarrass us more than you already have. Charles turned to leave, then paused. And Victoria, we're not idiots. Whatever game you're playing, it won't work. They left in a cloud of expensive cologne and veiled threats. Daniel closed the door. His hands were shaking with rage. Who the hell do they think? It doesn't matter. But Victoria's voice trembled. They called Emma an accessory. I know. How can you stand there and… Because I've been standing there my entire life. Victoria's composure shattered. You think this is new? You think I don't know exactly what they are? I built an empire trying to earn their approval, and it was never enough. Nothing is ever enough. Emma started crying. The sound broke through Daniel's anger. He scooped her up. Hey, it's okay, baby. Why were those people mean? Because some people are just mean, Em. It's not your fault. Victoria stood frozen, watching them, her face crumbling. I'm sorry, she whispered. I shouldn't have brought you into this. Daniel met her eyes, and for the first time, he saw her. Really saw her. Not the CEO, not the billionaire. Just a woman who'd been fighting alone for so long she'd forgotten what it felt like to have someone in her corner. We're going to that gala, Daniel said quietly. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Because nobody talks about my daughter like that. And nobody talks about you like that either. Victoria's eyes widened. Daniel, we're a family, right? Even if it's fake. Even if it's temporary. For the next 6 months, I've got your back. Something raw and desperate flickered across Victoria's face. Hope, maybe, or fear. Okay, she breathed. Okay. The Carmichael Gala was everything Daniel hated. Champagne, string quartets, people in tuxedos who'd never worked an honest day in their lives. Victoria wore a midnight blue gown that made her look like a goddess. Daniel wore a rented tux that fit poorly. Emma stayed home with a babysitter, much to her disappointment. They walked in together, Victoria's hand on Daniel's arm, and the room turned to watch. The whispers started immediately. Is that Victoria Sterling? Who's the man? I heard she married some nobody. Damage control for the inheritance, obviously. Daniel's jaw clenched. Victoria's grip on his arm tightened, the only sign she heard. Charles and Margot held court near the bar, surrounded by sycophants. They saw Victoria and Daniel approach. Charles's expression didn't change, but Margot's smile was a knife. Victoria, darling, and Daniel, was it? Yes, ma'am. How quaint. Tell me, Daniel, what do you do? I'm between positions at the moment. How unfortunate. Margot sipped her champagne. And your daughter, Emma? Such an unusual situation. What situation would that be? Daniel kept his voice level. A single father, a child from a previous relationship. It must be difficult, raising her alone. I'm not alone anymore. Margot's smile sharpened. Of course. How convenient for you both. Victoria stepped forward. That's enough. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, this entire charade is embarrassingly transparent. You think parading a child around will convince us this is real? Emma is not a prop. Isn't she? Come now, Victoria. We both know this is a business arrangement, just like everything else in your life. The room had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now. Daniel felt Victoria trembling beside him, saw the cracks forming in her armor. She was breaking, right here in front of everyone. So Daniel did the only thing he could think of. He stepped in front of her. You're right, he said, voice carrying across the silent ballroom. This started as an arrangement. Victoria needed something. I needed something. We made a deal. Margot's smile turned triumphant. Well, at least someone's honest. I'm not finished. Daniel's voice hardened. Yeah, it started as a deal, but somewhere between midnight fevers and homework battles and teaching her how to make coffee, something changed. Your daughter isn't made of ice. She's not a robot programmed to maximize profits. She's a woman who sings Italian lullabies to a 6-year-old who isn't even hers. She's someone who keeps crayon drawings on her wall like they're Picasso's. She's someone who learned to cook mac and cheese badly because she wanted to make a little girl happy. Victoria made a small, broken sound behind him. Daniel kept going. You want to know if this is real? Here's real. I came home 2 weeks ago and found Victoria crying in the bathroom because Emma called her mommy by accident, and she didn't know how to handle it. Here's real. She works from home now because Emma draws while she's in meetings and it makes her smile. Here's real. I'm standing here defending her from you, her own parents, because you've spent her entire life telling her she's not enough. Well, she is. She's more than enough. The room erupted in whispers. Charles's face had gone purple. How dare you? We're leaving. Daniel turned to Victoria. Her face was wet with tears. Come on. He took her hand and pulled her toward the exit. They were halfway there when Victoria stopped. She turned back to face her parents, and when she spoke, her voice was steady and clear. I'm done, she said. Keep the inheritance. Keep the company shares. Keep everything. Because I just realized I'd rather have nothing with people who love me than everything with people who don't. Then she walked out, head high, hand tight in Daniel's. They didn't speak until they reached the car. Daniel opened the passenger door for her, and Victoria slid in, still crying silently. He got in the driver's side, started the engine. I'm sorry, Victoria whispered. I'm so sorry I dragged you into this. Don't be. They're going to destroy me. Let them try. Victoria turned to look at him, mascara streaked, hair falling from its pins, and she'd never looked more beautiful. Why did you do that? Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Because somewhere between playing house and pretending to be a family, he'd stopped pretending. Because watching her sing to his daughter had cracked something open in his chest. Because the thought of anyone hurting her made him want to burn the world down. Because you deserved someone in your corner, he said instead. They sat in the parking lot, the engine idling, the city lights blurring through tears. And then Victoria leaned across the console and kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, a question. Daniel answered by pulling her closer, one hand tangling in her hair, kissing her like she was oxygen, and he was drowning. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Victoria's eyes were wide. This wasn't part of the deal, she whispered. I know. This complicates everything. I know. Daniel? I know. He rested his forehead against hers. But I don't care anymore. Victoria's hands fisted in his shirt. 6 months. That's all we have. Then let's make it count. They drove home in silence, but Victoria didn't let go of his hand. And when they got back, after they paid the babysitter and checked on Emma, they stood in the hallway between their separate rooms. Good night, Victoria said. Good night. Neither of them moved. Finally, Victoria stepped back into her room and closed the door. Daniel went to his room, lay down and stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathing on the other side of the wall. Everything had changed, and there were only 4 months left. The next 3 weeks were the happiest Daniel had ever been, and that terrified him. They didn't talk about the kiss. They didn't define what was happening between them. They just existed, together, like a real family. Victoria started kissing Emma goodnight. Daniel would find them curled up on Emma's bed, Victoria reading stories in different voices, Emma giggling at her terrible British accent. They cooked dinner together now. Victoria still wasn't great, but she was learning. Daniel taught her how to season chicken, how to tell when pasta was al dente. Their hands would brush reaching for the same spoon, and they'd both freeze, electricity crackling in the space between them. Emma noticed nothing. To her, this was normal. This was her family. That's what kept Daniel awake at night, because in 3.5 months this would end. Victoria would get her inheritance. Daniel would get his severance package. They'd go back to being strangers, and Emma would be destroyed. He tried to bring it up one night after Emma was asleep. Victoria was working at the kitchen table, laptop screen casting blue light across her face. We need to talk about what happens after. Victoria's fingers paused on the keyboard. After what? After the 6 months, when this ends. We agreed to terms. You'll receive. That's not what I mean. Daniel sat across from her. Emma thinks you're her mother now. She's attached. What happens when you leave? Victoria's expression shuddered. We'll handle it gently. Explain that sometimes people can't stay together. She's 6 years old. She won't understand. Children are resilient. That's what people say when they don't want to deal with the damage they cause. Daniel's voice was harder than he intended. Victoria closed her laptop slowly. What do you want me to say, Daniel? That we should extend the arrangement indefinitely? That we should keep pretending forever? I'm not asking for forever. I'm asking you to care about what this will do to her. I do care. Victoria's voice cracked. I care so much it's killing me. But we made a deal. This has an expiration date. And if I don't want it to expire? The words hung between them like smoke. Victoria stood abruptly. Don't do this. Do what? Tell you how I feel. This isn't real, Daniel. It's convenience wrapped in proximity. You're lonely, I'm lonely, we're playing house. Is that what you think this is? Daniel stood too, anger rising. You think I kiss you goodnight because I'm lonely? You think I watch you with my daughter and feel my heart break because it's convenient? Stop. You're terrified, I get it. But don't you dare minimize what's happening here. Victoria's eyes flashed. And what is happening here, tell me? Because from where I'm standing, you're a man who needed money, and I'm a woman who needed a solution. That's all this has ever been. The words landed like punches. Daniel stepped back. If that's really what you believe, then we have nothing left to talk about. He walked away before she could see how badly she'd hurt him. That night he heard her crying through the wall. He didn't go to her. The tension stretched like a wire pulled too tight. They were polite, distant. Daniel slept on the couch some nights because being in the room next to hers was unbearable. Victoria buried herself in work, taking calls at all hours, avoiding eye contact. Emma felt it. Kids always did. Why is Vicky sad? She asked one morning, watching Victoria mechanically eat toast. She's just stressed about work, baby. Did you make her sad? Daniel's throat tightened. Maybe. You should say sorry. That's what I do when I make someone sad. If only it were that simple. The bomb dropped on a Tuesday. Daniel came home from a job interview. Finally, a real prospect. To find Victoria sitting at the kitchen table, face pale, hands shaking. What's wrong? She slid a folder across the table. This arrived by courier an hour ago. Daniel opened it. Legal documents. Dense paragraphs of incomprehensible text. He flipped through pages trying to make sense. Then he saw it. A clause buried on page 17 of their original agreement. In the event that the arrangement extends beyond the initial 6-month term, custody arrangements for the minor child may be renegotiated to maintain the appearance of familial stability. Daniel's blood turned to ice. What the hell is this? I didn't write that clause. I swear to God, Daniel, I didn't know it was there. It's in the contract I signed. The contract you gave me. My lawyer added it. Standard protective language, he said. I never read the full document. I should have. But you were too busy buying yourself a family. Daniel's voice was deadly quiet. This says you could take Emma from me. I would never. It says you could. That's enough. Victoria stood desperate. Daniel, please. I would never do that. Emma is yours. I would never try to. How do I know that? Daniel's hands shook. How do I know you won't decide she's too attached to walk away from? Or that your parents will pressure you into keeping up appearances? Or that when the inheritance clears, you'll need a daughter for photo ops? Because I love her. Victoria's voice broke. I love that little girl like she's my own. The thought of hurting her destroys me. I would never. You love her? Daniel laughed bitterly. You don't know what love is. Love isn't a contract. Love isn't a 6-month rental agreement. Love is waking up every single day and choosing someone over and over, no matter how hard it gets. Then why are you giving up on us? Because there is no us. Daniel grabbed the folder, waving it. This is what we are. A legal arrangement with an escape clause. I was an idiot to think it could be anything else. Victoria's face crumbled. Daniel, please, I want you out. The words fell like stones. Victoria froze. What? Out. Tonight. Pack your things and leave. You can't. It's my name on the lease. My house. You said so yourself. Emma? I'll handle Emma. That's my job. It always has been. Victoria stared at him, tears streaming down her face. You're making a mistake. No, the mistake was trusting you. Daniel turned away before he could take it back. You have 2 hours. He took Emma to the park. She chattered about school, about a science project on butterflies, about how Marcus ate glue again and got sent to the principal's office. Daniel made appropriate sounds, his heart splintering with every word. When they got back, Victoria's car was gone. Emma ran inside, calling for her. Vicky, we're home. Silence. Emma checked Victoria's room. Empty. The drawings were gone from the walls. The closet was cleared out. The only evidence she'd ever been there was a faint scent of her perfume. Emma's face crumpled. Where's Vicky? Daniel knelt down, pulling his daughter into his arms. She had to go away for a while, baby. When is she coming back? I don't know, but she promised. Emma's voice was so small. She promised she'd stay. I know. I'm sorry. Emma cried into his shoulder, and Daniel held her, hating himself, hating Victoria, hating everything about the situation they'd created. That night, Emma refused to eat. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Did I do something wrong? She whispered. No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why did she leave? Daniel had no answer that wouldn't break them both. The next morning there was an envelope on the kitchen counter. Daniel found it when he came down to make coffee. His name, written in Victoria's elegant script. His hand shook as he opened it. Daniel, I won't insult you with excuses. You were right about everything. I am terrified. I don't know how to love without conditions because I've never been loved without conditions. My entire life has been transactions and contracts and conditional approval. But Emma changed something in me. You changed something in me. I called my lawyer last night. I'm having that clause removed from the contract. I'm also having him draft documents that make it legally impossible for me to ever pursue custody. Emma is yours. She will always be yours. Nothing I do, no inheritance, no pressure from my parents, nothing can change that. I know you think this was all fake. Maybe it started that way. But somewhere between mac and cheese disasters and midnight lullabies, it became the most real thing in my life. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm just asking you to believe that I never wanted to hurt you. Either of you. I resigned from Sterling Industries this morning. I'm walking away from the inheritance. I'm walking away from everything my parents wanted for me. Because you were right. I'd rather have nothing with people who love me than everything with people who don't. The only problem is, the people who love me don't want me anymore. Tell Emma I'm sorry I broke my promise. Tell her that leaving her was the hardest thing I've ever done. Tell her that her drawings are in my suitcase and I'll keep them forever. Tell her Vicky loves her. Even if Vicky doesn't get to stay, I hope you find someone who deserves you both. Daniel read the letter 3 times. Then he crumpled it in his fist and threw it across the room. The days that followed were gray and hollow. Emma stopped drawing. She barely spoke. She went through the motions of school and dinner and bedtime, but the light had gone out of her. Daniel tried everything. Ice cream, movies, the playground. Nothing worked. She asked about Victoria every single day. Is Vicky coming back today? No, baby. Tomorrow? I don't think so. Did she stop loving us? No, never. Then why did she leave? Daniel had no answer that made sense. 2 weeks after Victoria left, Daniel got a call from his old colleague, Marcus Webb, the man who'd fired him. Daniel, I need to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you. Just listen, please. Marcus sounded defeated. I need to tell you the truth about what happened. Against his better judgment, Daniel agreed to meet. They met at the same coffee shop where Victoria had first proposed the arrangement. The irony wasn't lost on Daniel. Marcus looked like he'd aged 10 years. I'm sorry. For everything. You didn't deserve what we did to you. What you did. The purchase orders. The fraud investigation. It was all fabricated. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. I know that. What I don't know is why. Marcus took a breath. Victoria's parents, Charles and Margot Sterling, they're majority shareholders in our parent company. They called me directly, told me to discredit you and remove you from Victoria's orbit. The room tilted. Why? Because you mattered to her. Even back then, before the arrangement, she talked about you, asked about you. They saw it as a weakness, something that could distract her from their plans. So they destroyed my career. Yes, and I went along with it because they threatened mine. Marcus looked away, ashamed. Victoria found out 3 months ago. She's been working behind the scenes to clear your name. She forced an internal audit, exposed the whole scheme. She got you rehired, promoted. She sacrificed her relationship with her parents to protect you. Daniel couldn't breathe. She never told me. She didn't want you to feel obligated. She just wanted to make it right. Marcus slid a folder across the table. This is your reinstatement paperwork. Senior project manager position. Double your old salary, full benefits. It's all legitimate this time. Daniel stared at the folder. When did this go through? Last week, right before Victoria resigned from everything. She resigned. Walked away from the CEO position. Walked away from the inheritance. Her parents are furious. They're trying to sue her for breach of contract, but her lawyers are destroying them. Marcus met Daniel's eyes. She gave up everything. For you. Daniel sat in his car for an hour, staring at nothing. Victoria had known. The whole time she'd known her parents destroyed him, and she'd spent months quietly fixing it, sacrificing everything, asking for nothing in return, and he'd thrown her out. He'd called her incapable of love. He'd broken her heart and kicked her out of their home. Daniel pulled out his phone, pulled up Victoria's contact. His thumb hovered over the call button. Then Emma's voice echoed in his memory. She promised she'd stay. Daniel put the phone down. Victoria had walked away to protect them, to give Emma back to him completely, with no strings attached, to prove she wasn't trying to buy a family, and he'd let her go. Maybe that's what love looked like sometimes. Letting go, protecting someone by leaving. But Emma was drawing again. Sad pictures of a woman with dark hair always walking away, and Daniel realized that sometimes love meant fighting, even when it hurt, even when you were scared. Especially then. He started the engine. It was time to stop running. Finding Victoria Sterling turned out to be harder than Daniel expected. She'd disappeared. No forwarding address at her penthouse. Her assistant claimed she'd taken indefinite leave. Her phone went straight to voicemail every time he called. Daniel spent 3 days searching. Called everyone he could think of. Hit dead ends at every turn. Emma watched him with hollow eyes. You're looking for Vicky, aren't you? Yeah, baby, I am. Are you going to bring her home? Daniel knelt down, taking his daughter's small hands in his. I'm going to try. But I need you to know something. I messed up, Em. I said things I shouldn't have said. I pushed Vicky away when she needed me most, and now I don't know if she'll forgive me. Emma's face was solemn, far too serious for a 6-year-old. Daddy, when I make a mistake, what do you tell me to do? Say sorry and try to fix it. So say sorry and try to fix it. She said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. Daniel pulled her into a hug. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just don't notice sometimes. Despite everything, Daniel laughed. That night, Emma appeared in the kitchen with her backpack. Inside were a dozen drawings, all of Victoria. Victoria smiling. Victoria reading stories. Victoria making terrible mac and cheese. Give these to her, Emma said. So she knows we still love her. Daniel's throat tightened. I will. I promise. You better, because if you mess this up, I'm going to be really mad at you. Noted. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Daniel's phone rang at 7 a.m. on Saturday. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Matthews? This is Catherine Liu, Ms. Sterling's former assistant. Then Daniel sat up straight. Do you know where she is? I'm not supposed to tell you. Catherine paused. But Ms. Sterling has been different since she left. Sad. And she was never sad before. She was ice, you know. But now she's just broken. Please, I need to find her. There's a charity event tonight. The Riverside Foundation Gala. Victoria helped found it years ago. It supports single-parent families. She'll be there. It's her last public appearance before she leaves the country. Daniel's heart stopped. She's leaving? Next week. She bought a villa in Italy. Said she needs to start over somewhere nobody knows her name. Where's the gala? Catherine gave him the address. Mr. Matthews, whatever you're planning to do it tonight. Because after this, she's gone for good. Daniel had never crashed a charity gala before. He showed up at 6 p.m. in the same rented tux from the Carmichael disaster. Emma's drawings folded carefully in his jacket pocket. The venue was stunning. A riverside hotel with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water. String lights hung like stars. The kind of place where champagne flowed and people wore watches worth more than Daniel's car. Security stopped him at the door. Invitation? I don't have one, but I need to see Victoria Sterling. It's urgent. Sir, without an invitation, please. Daniel's voice cracked. I just need 5 minutes. 5 minutes and I'll leave, I swear. The security guard's expression softened. Look, I can't let you in, but Ms. Sterling usually steps out onto the riverside terrace around 7. If you walk around the building, there's a path that leads there. Thank you. Daniel followed the path as the sun set, turning the river gold. He could hear music drifting from inside, laughter, the sound of people who belonged. And then he saw her. Victoria stood alone on the terrace, arms wrapped around herself, staring at the water. She wore a simple black dress, elegant but understated. Her hair was down, catching the last light of day. She looked beautiful. She looked destroyed. Daniel's feet moved before his brain could catch up. Victoria. She turned, and the shock on her face was absolute. Daniel, what are you? How did you? I've been looking for you for 3 days. You shouldn't be here. I know, but I needed to see you. Daniel stepped closer. I needed to tell you that I was wrong. About everything. Victoria backed up, shaking her head. Don't. Please don't do this. You said you were incapable of love. You said this was just convenience, but then you gave up everything. Your company, your inheritance, your family, to protect mine. That's not convenience, Victoria. That's love. Stop. Marcus told me what your parents did. How they destroyed my career to control you. How you spent months fixing it, asking for nothing. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. It doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters. Daniel pulled out Emma's drawings. She made these for you. Every single day since you left, she draws you. She asks when you're coming home. She cries herself to sleep because she thinks she did something wrong. Victoria's hand flew to her mouth, a sob escaping. And I cry too, Daniel continued, his voice breaking. Because I pushed away the best thing that ever happened to us. I was scared, terrified actually, because loving you means risking everything. It means trusting someone with my daughter's heart, and I couldn't handle that level of vulnerability. Daniel, but Emma reminded me that when you mess up, you say sorry and try to fix it. So I'm here, I'm sorry, and I'm trying to fix it. Victoria was crying openly now. You deserve better than me. Someone who knows how to be a mother. Someone who didn't trap you into this. You didn't trap me, you saved me. Daniel closed the distance between them. You taught my daughter that she deserves to be loved unconditionally. You taught me that family isn't just blood. It's choosing someone every single day, and I choose you, Victoria. I will choose you every day for the rest of my life if you'll let me. I'm leaving for Italy next week. Then I'll come with you. Your job, I'll find another one. Emma's school. Kids are resilient, remember? Daniel smiled through his own tears. Besides, she needs her mother. Victoria's breath hitched. I'm not her mother. Yes, you are. You've been her mother since the first time you sang her to sleep. Since you hung her drawings on your wall like they were masterpieces. Since you learned to make terrible mac and cheese just to see her smile. Daniel cupped Victoria's face in his hands. You're her mother in every way that counts. And she needs you. We both need you. What if I mess it up? What if I don't know how to do this? Then we'll mess it up together. That's what families do. Victoria laughed through her tears. That's a terrible sales pitch. It's the only one I've got. For a moment, they just stood there, the river flowing behind them, the sound of the gala muffled and distant. Then Victoria kissed him. It was desperate and messy and perfect. Daniel pulled her closer, and she melted into him like she'd finally found home. When they broke apart, Victoria was smiling, really smiling. Not the polished CEO smile or the careful public smile. A real, genuine, sunshine smile. I love you, she whispered. I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, I'm terrified too. Let's be terrified together. What about the gala? I'm supposed to give a speech. Daniel grinned. Give it. I'll wait. You don't have an invitation. I'm very good at sneaking in. It's a whole thing. Victoria laughed. A real, full-bodied laugh that sounded like music. Okay, but you're sitting in the front row. Deal. Victoria's speech was supposed to be about the foundation's work supporting single-parent families. Statistics and success stories and corporate buzzwords. That's not what she gave. Daniel sat in the front row, smuggled in by sympathetic staff. As Victoria took the stage, she looked at the crowd, hundreds of wealthy donors in designer clothes, and then her eyes found Daniel. She smiled. I had a speech prepared, Victoria began, full of numbers and charts and carefully crafted talking points. But I'm going to set that aside and tell you a story instead. The room quieted. 3 months ago, I made a deal with a desperate man. I needed something from him, and he needed something from me. It was transactional, clinical, the kind of arrangement I'd made 100 times in business. Daniel's heart pounded. But then something unexpected happened. That man's daughter taught me what unconditional love looks like. She showed me that family isn't about genetics or contracts or meeting expectations. It's about showing up. It's about singing lullabies at 2 a.m. It's about keeping crayon drawings like they're priceless art. Victoria's voice shook, but she kept going. And that man taught me that I'm worthy of love, not because of my last name or my bank account or what I can provide, just because I exist, just because I choose to show up every day and try my best, even when I fail spectacularly at cooking pasta. Laughter rippled through the crowd. I spent my whole life thinking love was conditional, that it had to be earned, that I had to be perfect to deserve it. And then I met a 6-year-old girl who loved me anyway, and a man who saw past my armor to the broken woman underneath, and loved her too. Victoria looked directly at Daniel. So tonight, instead of asking you to donate to the Riverside Foundation, which you absolutely should, they do incredible work, I'm asking you to remember something. Love isn't transactional, family isn't conditional, and sometimes the people who save us are the ones we least expect. She paused. I gave up a fortune to be with the people I love, and I've never been richer. The room erupted in applause. Victoria stepped off the stage and walked straight to Daniel. He stood and she threw her arms around him, burying her face in his neck. Let's go home, she whispered. Yeah, let's go home. They picked Emma up from the neighbor's house at 9 p.m. Emma took one look at Victoria and screamed, "Vicky!" She launched herself into Victoria's arms, nearly knocking her over. Victoria caught her, holding on like she'd never let go. You came back! You came back! I'm sorry I left, sweet girl. I'm so sorry. Are you staying this time, for real? Victoria looked at Daniel over Emma's head. He nodded. Yes, Victoria said firmly. For real. Forever, if you'll have me. I'll have you. I'll have you forever and ever. They stood in the neighbor's doorway. The three of them tangled together, and for the first time, Daniel felt complete. The wedding happened 6 weeks later. Not the elaborate society affair Victoria's parents would have demanded. A simple ceremony in their backyard, 20 people max. Emma as flower girl in a yellow dress that matched her bedroom. Daniel's few friends. Catherine Liu, who'd helped Daniel find Victoria. Marcus Webb, who'd cleared Daniel's name. No Sterlings. Victoria had sent an invitation anyway. They didn't respond. Daniel didn't care. He watched Victoria walk toward him in a simple white sundress, flowers in her hair, and nothing else mattered. Emma stood between them during the ceremony, holding both their hands. Do you, Victoria Sterling, take this man to be your husband, and this child to be your daughter? Victoria looked at Emma, then at Daniel. I do, I really, really do. And do you, Daniel Matthews, take this woman to be your wife and co-parent to your daughter? Every day for the rest of my life. They kissed while Emma cheered, and their tiny crowd applauded, and the afternoon sun turned everything gold. It was perfect. It was real. It was theirs. 6 months after the wedding, Victoria's foundation had tripled in size. She'd poured her energy, and a significant portion of her personal wealth, into supporting single parents. Daniel joined as co-director, using his experience to develop programs that actually helped people instead of just generating good PR. They worked side by side, built something meaningful together, and every night they came home to Emma. Emma, who was thriving, whose drawings now featured 3 stick figures holding hands, whose asthma was under control, who had 2 parents who loved her unconditionally. On a random Tuesday evening, Daniel came home early from the office. He walked through the front door and froze. Victoria was on her hands and knees in the living room, scrubbing the floor. Emma had spilled an entire bottle of purple paint during an art project. It was everywhere. Floor, furniture, Victoria's jeans. But Victoria was laughing. Daniel leaned against the doorframe, watching. You know, we could hire someone to do that. Victoria looked up, paint on her cheek, hair falling from its ponytail. I know. So why are you doing it? She sat back on her heels, considering. Because this is my house, my family, my mess to clean up. She smiled, that sunshine smile Daniel loved. Besides, someone once told me that love is showing up every day and choosing someone, even when it's messy, especially when it's messy. Daniel crossed the room and kissed her, not caring about the paint. I love you. I love you too. Emma appeared from her room surveying the damage. Oops. Victoria pulled her into a paint-covered hug. Oops is right, kiddo, but that's okay. We'll clean it together. Like a family? Exactly like a family. Daniel grabbed a sponge and joined them on the floor. The three of them scrubbed purple paint while Emma chattered about her day. It took 2 hours and 3 rolls of paper towels. It was chaotic and exhausting and absolutely perfect. That night after Emma was asleep, Daniel found Victoria on the porch swing. She was going through Emma's latest drawings, carefully preserving each one in a protective sleeve. Daniel sat beside her. You kept your promise. What promise? You told Emma you'd stay, and you did. Victoria leaned into him. I had good motivation. This stubborn single dad who wouldn't give up on me even when I gave up on myself. He sounds smart. He's an idiot, actually, but he's my idiot. They sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies dance in the yard. Do you ever regret it? Daniel asked quietly. Giving up the sterling fortune? Victoria didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. I traded a fortune for a family. Best deal I ever made. Even better than that initial 6-month contract? Way better. That one had an expiration date. This one's forever. Daniel pulled her closer. Forever sounds good. Forever sounds perfect. Inside, Emma called out in her sleep. Mommy! Victoria's breath caught. She looked at Daniel, eyes wide. She's calling for you, he whispered. Victoria stood, and Daniel watched as she went to comfort their daughter. He heard soft murmurs. Emma's sleepy voice. Victoria singing that Italian lullaby. The same one her mother had sung to her a lifetime ago. The same one she'd sing to Emma for the rest of their lives. Daniel thought about the night he'd come home and found Victoria scrubbing his floors. How he'd thought it was the end of everything. How wrong he'd been. Because she wasn't scrubbing away dirt that night. She was building a foundation, brick by brick, moment by moment, choosing them over and over again. And Daniel realized that sometimes love does start with a contract, with desperation and convenience and practical arrangements. But real love, the kind that lasts, is built in the spaces between, in purple paint disasters and burned dinners, in midnight lullabies and crayon drawings, in choosing to stay when leaving would be easier, in finding someone scrubbing your floor and realizing they're not there to clean your house. They're there to make it a home.